The air was black and cold. Wind moved the little things. There was no moon, but the skies were clear and the stars were bright. The only sound was dead, crisp leaves raking the ground. I sat and thought. There was no more baseball. I had no money. I was hungry. I was ready. I stood up and turned to my right. A light shone through the chandler's window. They were probably thinking about other things. Family, apple pies, comfort, beaches. I licked my dry lips and my dry tongue. I tested my moist toes against the moist soles of my damp shoes. What was the last meal I ate? This town felt too small. It was only a half-hour walk from the Cole Street Diner on the south edge of town to the Greenbrier Estates on the north edge. There were 3 sidewalks in the whole town. I looked north to the forest that extended for 40 miles to the town of Phipps. I was ready. The noise of the door opening startled me. Mr. Chandler walked out with a garbage bag, humming something to himself. He dropped the bag in the can and looked in my direction, but I don't think he saw me. He closed the door behind him and I closed my eyes. I was ready. In my pockets were 3 candy bars, a flashlight, a knife, tissues, $6 in quarters, and the 2-page letter. I found the 3 Musketeers bar, ate half, and put the rest back. I walked forward, past the Chandler's mailbox, past Mr. Chandler's Escalade, past Mrs. Chandler's BMW, past Katie Chandler's Porsche, past their RV, and past their boat, into their backyard, illuminated by the lights in the house. I heard something from inside the house. Mrs. Chandler probably saw me. I kept walking, into the woods, north. The leaves in the forest were now crunching under my feet. I high-stepped over thorn bushes and fallen trees. There was no need to be quick. The air in buildings used to feel foreign to my throat and lungs, and I liked the outside air in all of its forms. This was heavy, damp, and cold. I looked around as I kept walking. There was a rusted-out barrel, the remains of a wooden fence, 2 tires filled with water, a pile of small rocks. I thought of all the people who had been buried outside of graveyards. Maybe I was being too harsh, but I didn't have time to worry about politeness. I got to the gentle curve of the slope that led to Max Creek. That would mark about a mile. It must have been 200 feet down from the top. I stopped there to have a drink and rest. Looking left, I realized that there were birds. Large black ones. They looked at me. It occurred to me then that I had never seen birds at night. I wanted to rest, but they unsettled me. I looked for a rock to throw at them. They looked at me. I thought better of it and kept walking. I don't know if I was being followed. It didn't feel like it. Walking uphill is harder than it looks. I was almost to the top of the hill on the other side of Max Creek when I heard shouting in the distance to my left. I froze. I strained to make out the words, but I couldn't. I don't know why anyone would be in that direction. There were no houses or even roads for miles in that direction, and it was too dark to hunt. For a moment, I believed it could have been animals, but they were definitely human voices. I continued walking after about 2 minutes of silence. It was a challenging walk up and down hills with almost no level ground for most of the way. My destination was almost 2,000 feet above my starting point. It made me think of my mother. She was dead. There was grass. Why was there grass? The entire journey was supposed to be through forests. A field of grass in the middle of the woods, at least a couple miles away from the nearest road. I walked into it. I looked up at the night. I was still moving in the right direction. The forest resumed 200 feet in front of me. I walked on. There were no signs warning of private property, no fences, no decaying signs that humans were ever there, yet at one point in recent history, they were. The entire land had been clear-cut by loggers some 200 years ago. It was only since the progressive movement that the forest was replanted and protected. I wondered what the land must have looked like bald. What were they thinking? And where was the lumber now? I wondered how many snakes I had come within striking distance of unknowingly. I did not want to kill myself, but I did want to die, although I was afraid of snakes. Life and fear are fickle that way. Was there really a meaning to life? Does suffering count as meaning? John would know. He used to know everything. John disappeared. He wasn't dead, I think. He just stopped being around, and we noticed, but nobody knew where he went. John was a legend. Everyone had a story about John. Eddie said he once saw John drink a shot glass full of gasoline just for fun. Jacob said John bought a medieval sword and cut down a tree with it. Albert said John's sister was actually his mother and his mother was actually his grandmother, but he ran away from home before he learned the truth and never saw them again. There was shouting to my right now. It was far in the distance. I couldn't tell how many people there were or what they were saying because they were all yelling over each other. This time I kept walking through it instead of stopping to listen. I stepped in a hole filled with water. I hate walking with wet shoes, but I kept walking through the evening. The terrain was getting rockier. I occasionally picked up small rocks and hurled them at trees. There was one tree with a hole in it. I filled it with as many rocks as I could. I regret the time I spent doing that, though. I should have just kept walking to get to my next meal faster since I didn't have any food. I came to the wall. I would have to walk a mile to the west to get around it, but it was the quickest way. This is where they found Tim Carpenter 15 years ago when he killed his family and then himself. The cops don't know how he managed to run this far into the woods as drunk as he was. This was almost a quarter of the way there. I would sleep there for the night. I could have made a fire, but I lost my lighter. I had lost a lot in the last few weeks. I didn't want to think about it. It wasn't my fault. Rules are rules. Nobody wanted to do it. Why hadn't anyone thought to change it? There would be no one else. Sometimes I liked to destroy things, like my watch. I don't know what I was trying to destroy, but it wasn't my watch. I liked the taste of smoke. I liked watching it burn, but it was not satisfying enough. The eclipse would bring chaos. I knew it. They would come and bring death. It would be terrifying, but necessary. I wanted to walk through fire to the other side. I remember the night Mr. Kim wrecked his new car the day he bought it, and everyone came out of their houses to laugh at him. He combed the thinning hair on the sides of his head to cover the top. I had always wanted a car. How often would it happen? Is nothing sacred anymore? I could work. All at once, I was alone. Finally, I suffer. It is my fault for following you. Let me down gently. Go away. Forgive me. Tell me why you care. Is it lust? This perpetual cycle of tension and release. I could keep running forever. Down the hill, around the corner, to the church, in the window, out the back door, around the corner. I could make it last. Oh, how horrible their company is. Tell me why they care. With my back to the wall, the book fell from the mantel and the candles were lit. The flames moved in unison. There was wind. Children, you will not be mistaken for wolves. There will be a hole in the wall. Follow it to a cave. Paintings of animals describe the first families. There might be armed guards. They will not see you, but do not bring anything, do not talk, and do not haste. It glows white. It burns. Henry bit his lip in thought. Shrinking, the air filled with red fog. It came from their mouths. When there was nothing left, it began to vibrate. The language was foreign, but the message was a familiar feeling. We left after an hour when it ceased. Outside in the night, Matthew spoke. The end will be good. We must collect. They will go beyond, back to the center. You will know nothing. You will feel everything. All else becomes quagmire. Hither and thither, boundaries approach and disappear. Twice is never. There is no place for leftover sighs. Refrigerators whine, and the heat they produce dries the air. Non-living matter, therefore, does not exist, but is despite itself. Vacant eyes can only observe. Illegal is relative. I hope it happens again. The task is not sufficient to please others. I hope it helps. Parties are only relevant if there is no money. Monkeys spit filth at colored shapes. They leak. A void looms and pulsates its threat. Spirals of nothing mutate into spasms of nothing and shake the foundations of nothing, creating reverberating nothingness, resonating at a frequency of nothing. The void screams back. The void wants to exist. It does exist and knows not that it does. The void explodes and nothing happens. Nothing happens. Forever, nothing happens. Forever. The void explodes forever. Vibration or explosion. Whole is not possible. The void is not Satan or God. The void is not death. You know me better than I know myself. Undetectable is the speed. We are unable to communicate, and that is all. The universe would not want it. Wings are only wings. Function is implied, but not limited. Sheer force of will is always enough, even in the absence of matter. Levels not seen since they abandoned us. And love is gone. They left it, and we chased it away. In shortage, they used other means. Forward, she measured. Over and down again. 2 cars pass in opposite directions. They could have switched and never got into this mess. Heat will not rise. Circles. Water is relative. I thought they didn't have to do it. Who knows? This is what it's for. It isn't safe. Take the camels. Maybe I am, but I won't say so. You're here. Stay here, you fucker. Stay here and give me the love I want. How many times have I walked this road? Too many to remember. Too few to die. What was it you found? How lovely. We could use a break. Find weakness. Never surrender your soul. Never surrender your fear. How are we supposed to move forward? Never. Don't give them an ounce. Hurt. The captain wants to speak with you. She is enamored. He told me to tell you to bring your candy. She sings what you breathe. His voice is liquid. Her hair is a type of void. He brings coffee. You stir in your anguish. Drops of rain fall slowly. Green they are. Transparent with the grace of God. Paradise used to run through these rocks. We begged. We cried. They cheered. They promised and received. Even the dirt was green. Dance, you who sing. Fly, you who worship the sun and its sounds, those crazy nightmares, haunting my language. All was living before without it. History is a tree of secrets. Most know their mother, the milk snake. Sun, white, 4. It is with great disappointment we inform you. 1,000. How? I chuckle. Near entrances they disappear. Finally? Surely. Squarely and completely is my heart to your head. Find it. Beckon for it. You beg me to stay. You fool. Fuck you. Fill your mouth with burning. I hate you. I see it in the distance. Come with me. Do not waste time. Kill your parents. Go on. Kill them. Waves of wind are abundant in tunnels. Ancient mammals will forgive you. The human waist on top of the arm is the signal. You are no good. You are worthless. You piece of shit. Fuck yourself. You are completely desperate for fire, and you are unaware of your history. Let us begin. I walk for justice. Freedom is not included. I gain speed as I fall ever downward. I win the race, and you win the battle. Cry forever. Mourn forever. Without knowing there can still be breathing. How much does it cost? I wait on the platform. The train comes and goes. Peace is something else entirely. Violence is fun. Foaming at the mouth, I pour you a glass. They are scared of you. Are all of us fools? It was you all along. You knew how. You kept them in a glass. You fed them your lies. You walked forward into ghosts. I was not here. The core is all I care about. Glittering moments of spontaneous help. Grains of a million lives swirling in calamity. Miracles of nuisance. I am coming for you, my darling. Switch your ears and lick your fingers. If they see you, run. Balloons rise, bright colors faded in the unadulterated light. Alone. Terrible, crushing, gnashing, brutal light. The emptiness rings dead, hollow like the inside of that which is unknown. It comes to prick my eyes. It worries to caress my head. My jaw, they said, is tight. There are no dreams. Confide in me, and I will replenish. Monsters exist in the trembling eyes of cowards. Orange wisps divide mountains into valleys. 100 years ago, they were grounds for execution. 1,000 years ago, they were gods. 10,000 years ago, they smelled of birds. The fires that once raged here are long gone, replaced by painted rocks. You have no choice. I sat and ate what was left of my sandwich. I was afraid they might come back. If I was not already waiting, I could have shown you where they kept the water. The slaves send their condolences. I am glad to have you as a friend. His shop was filled with sawdust. There were piles. Chunky orange dust. Fine yellow dust. White dust. Brown dust. Red dust. Dust on the machines. Dust on the floor. Dust mixed together in gradients. Dust floating in the air. Some of the dust had been there so long it had hardened into place. After hours in the shop, it was hard to imagine a world without dust. Some of the dust smelled like sour bread. Some of it just made my nose itch. Some of it caught in the back of my throat. Sam couldn't take it. He used to go fishing. Sometimes he'd just keep walking deeper and deeper into the water and take a dip. It was a strange year. I don't like to think about it too much. Rocks were scattered from one end to the other. The skies were huge. They made us pick up trash along the highway. Then it rained and rained. My neighbor lost his shed when our tree fell and crushed it. When will you come back? This isn't right. I wouldn't want to miss your show. City streets lined with potted plants. Country roads bend through the grass. I kept walking forward. Please send me a sign. I waded through the hot summer. It was concerning, to say the least. I never thought Olivia was that type of person. She would have been killed if it wasn't for that crow. Plastic, green and smooth. Don't go. Lights burn in sequence. I breathe in air and exhale air. Here comes the cloud. He used to live in a small house by the highway. I don't like you. I thought of all the lessons I had learned in my 50 years. I pulled the puzzle piece out of my pocket and placed it on the board. We could go to war tomorrow. Microscopic explosions leave craters in your skin. The meals we eat today will feed millions. When was it? There is no music here. People whisper. If we listen, who is left to kill? Ridges and cracks and the grass that grows in between. Consider the kitchen sink. Is it a prison? We will each get 3 lives. There is a book in the library at school. Bandages hang. I will not stay here. We are guided by these virtues. The weakness in my hands comes and goes. Throw darts at my eyes and guide me to land. They grow. Starvation. Starve. Drown. Fall. Through sludge is peace. It is off. Colors and faint noises blur. Together we climb. I strike. Animal carcasses ferment. Heat becomes plastic. Illusions belong to me. Slowly, in the dirt. Whisper your anger into their eyes and mood. Endless seas are for wandering. Does it feel wet? Do you know the direction? Are you cold? Are your thoughts dying? Turn. They go away, leaving footprints. Pick them up. Go home. Continue without it. They want nothing